Hello and welcome to the Right Click Save podcast. I am your host, Jimmy T. Today we've got a guest on that we've been wanting to get on for a while now. We've got Bianca from Nemus. Bianca, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm glad that we finally got around to doing this recording. We originally met you, me and Calcio met you at East Denver. We met you standing in line, as you say. We like to say queuing, but as you say, standing in line.
The Q Squad. That's
it.
what we were, became.
That's it. So we were queuing with Josh, who was waiting to get his COVID test in a nice 3-hour queue, and we thought it'd be friendly and queue and stand in line with him. And that's when we met you and Mike and learned all about Nemus, which is quickly growing to be one of my favourite projects. Before we dive into Nemus, though, and get into all the sort of facets of that, I want to know a little bit about your own genesis into NFTs. So how did you first get into the wonderful world of Web3?
Thanks for having me on RCS. It's been a long time coming.
You are welcome.
Finally got it, and I've got 4 cups of coffee down, so I apologize if I talk really fast. I'm just very excited to do this, so thanks for having me. So how did I get into NFTs? Well, to be quite honest, it was actually the Nemus project. So I was 100% one of those people like, why on the freaking planet is someone spending $4 million on this, that, or the other picture? I just did not get it.
Yeah.
And so what happened was a little bit more than a year ago at this point, or maybe right around a year, I was with Flavio and Bernardo, who are my father and my brother. And we were having a conversation, and in this conversation, somehow it came up. So my brother's really into crypto.
Yeah.
And my father's worked in the Amazon for many, many years. And I have worked with scientists on climate change for the better part of my career. And so we're having this conversation, and this kind of like meeting of the minds comes up of, what if we use an NFT to, protect the rainforest and then, hopefully impact climate change or, there's a whole other argument on climate change, which we can do an entire podcast on that. Yeah. But so basically that was how the trajectory went. So what happened from there is I was like, all right, time for me to get educated. So then I went and did some learning.
Yep.
And was when I learned about blockchain. And then the whole game changed for me, because I was like, okay, this is cool. And I have since come to appreciate all sorts of, the different PFP projects and the premise behind them and the goals and the communities and things like that. But I was absolutely the skeptic, and I've come a long way. And it took the clicking of what blockchain was to really sort of like for me to buy in.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people can empathize with that side of the story, because I think everyone was most people were in the exact same boat. The amount of money being spent on some of the weirdest NFTs like Ether Rocks, and even even Bored Apes, pictures of monkeys selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's crazy. But then when you do embed yourself in the tech and understand that this is kind of the beginning of the evolution of NFTs, of the technology. That's when people really fall down a rabbit hole and get excited and start seeing some of the crazy use cases and how it's going to kind of help evolve our society. So very cool. What was your first NFT?
My first NFTs was actually a Woody's.
Nice.
See here, Woody's. This is me. This was my first NFT. Yeah.
Nice.
I think she is awesome, and she was actually a gift.
Nice.
And it created, like, for me, I think the sensation that a lot of people in the NFT world get when they really like meld with their PFP, like this is now my persona. And the Woody's NFT, they're a partner of ours, and their community is just fantastic, and their goals, they're setting out to plant, I think, 1 million trees, and it's just so in line with what we're doing that it felt like the perfect NFT to bring me into into the NFT world, given what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely. Massive synergy between you guys and
Mm-hmm.
Woody's. So yeah, talking synergy, we should probably overview Nemus and broadly kind of what you guys do. So Nemus is a collectible NFT experience designed to conserve and protect the Amazon rainforest. That's kind of the headline elevator pitch for your project. Do you want to give us a sort of a bit more of an overview of that?
Yeah. So right. So as you said, so collectible NFT experience, designed to conserve and protect the Amazon rainforest. That is absolutely the pitch. That is like the 2 seconds. Hey, you want to listen to me?
I got it off the website.
There is so much more to it. It's actually really unique and exciting, and it's designed to be educational, and it has so many different facets.
Yeah.
So first off, there's the artwork, right, which is fantastic, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then there's game mechanics that will come into play with, using the NFTs, which will give education to people. It's very important for folks to understand, what are we protecting? Why are we protecting it? And how do we protect it? I think that education will be critical. And then on top of all of that, we're doing things in the real world. So there is this connection between the NFT, like in the NFT itself, there's the GPS coordinates, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about the cards and things like that, but just high level overview, it's tied to real world land or physical world land in the Amazon rainforest. And the idea behind it is that through the NFT and the community, we will create a circular economy on the ground, and support folks who live there. Because right now there's, I think, like somewhere between, I think there's like 20 million people that live in the Amazon, which is something that most people don't know. And so there's the idea behind it, the circular economy, is to create these sustainable activities so that folks have a means of survival that doesn't include deforestation. So see, there's no way to like get it across quickly. That is Nemus in a nutshell. And
in a Brazil
some
nutshell.
Of the aspects, there's still much more to it, but that's a broad overview.
It's one of my, as I said before, it's one of my favorite projects. There is so much to the project itself, and I thought I knew most of the things about Nemus before we recorded this episode, and then in preparation for recording, I was like, I'm just going to read through the white paper again. And there were just so many other things that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. Oh no, this is so cool. Oh yeah, this is on the roadmap. This is going to be amazing. So yeah, it's I'm definitely a big fan. And I remember at ETH Denver when we met you, we ended up hanging out with you and Mike for pretty much the whole of the week of ETH Denver.
We sure did.
And so many times we found ourselves sort of talking to people, and I was pitching Nemus to them, and then I turned around to speak to you, and you were like talking to someone about the podcast. So it was
we got really good at pitching each other.
It was very funny.
It was great fun.
Who are Nemus? That's what I want to know. How many members have you got in your team, and what kind of people have you got?
So we have, I don't know if it's a large team. I consider it large because we span the world.
Yeah.
But we're not, in terms of quantity, we're not a lot of people. We're just sort of wide range. And I cannot say enough good things about them. Everybody has sort of like their niche, and together we're doing this incredible thing. And it really ranges from like, you've got your degens to your traditional business person, and we just meld together in such a fashion to bring this forward. It has been absolutely fantastic and absolutely fascinating to watch. To bring an idea to reality has just been awesome. So the two prominent players for Nemes are Flavio and Charlie. So Flavio is a Brazilian American, and he brings the real world, like the physical world experience. He's been working in the Amazon for decades at this point. And Charlie, who is the co-founder, so Flavio is the founder, Charlie co-founder, brings the Web3 world. Yeah. So it's been, when the two of them met, I think there was quite the meeting of the minds. I think they're very similar, and to be quite frank, when I'm listening to them talk, I'm like not smart enough for this conversation. So I just sort of wait for the, clip notes after the fact, and can
Yeah.
someone just give me direction, because there's just so much, they just build on each other, and the vibe is fantastic. And I think it shows in the product that we have put forth.
100%.
How cohesive the team is, in how focused on making the best product we can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to agree with that. I mean, the one thing that really struck me about the project is just how clean and how well executed a lot of the things that you do. When I came to mint my own Nemus cards, the website experience is just so good. Like with the map of the Amazon rainforest, how it kind of zooms in, you select your area that you're looking to mint, the NFT itself, the quality of the artwork, just it's probably the cleanest NFT experience that I've had on there. So to achieve that, you must have a really strong team. And even like your gas prices were really low, etc. It was as I say, very, very clean experience.
Can I pick your brain? What did you mint? What did you get? Did you get anything fancy?
So the first one I got, the main artwork on the front of the card was passion fruit.
Okay.
And on that I got, this was my it's 2 uncommons and 2 commons on my features. So I had a Brazil nut, a passion fruit, a sandbox tree, and a blue and yellow Macau, that was what I was hoping for on the picture, to be fair. But I got the Brazil nut on the picture, which is fine. I like it. It still looks cool. I was very much hoping for an animal. Yeah,
I've minted a few of my own, and I just did not get lucky. Like the rarity, the highest that I got was a silver. Everything else is the basic level. I got quite a lot of plants. I did get a frog. I got a pretty dope hawk.
I saw your hawk. I was jealous of the hawk.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then what was the other one? And then I'm obsessed with the Amazon kingfisher, which is this blue bird.
That looked very cool.
They're so cute. I'm obsessed with the drawing. Like when I first saw it, I had never seen it.
The art is amazing.
I was like, tattoo? Perhaps. We'll see.
Yeah, nice. Well, maybe you gotta do like a Twitter competition to get to a certain amount of retweets or whatever to get your cards tattooed on yourself. My second one I did get an epic. I got a Rufus Twistwing, if that's pronounced correctly.
Yeah, Rufus Twistwing.
It's a silver.
It's Guarana. Oh, in the picture is Guarana. So this is Guarana is it's often in energy drinks.
Oh yeah, okay, nice.
So it's a soda. It's a very popular soda in Brazil, but it's also like, I think, whatever generic brand of energy drinks, they often have Guarana in them.
Nice. And then my final card is this one with the rubber tree on the front, and then it did have a couple of it's a ground cuckoo and a orange-cheeked parrot. And a frog, but I still got the tree was the one that I got on the front. I was hoping for an animal on the front, but the art's still cool.
Rubber trees are very cool.
Nice. So I was happy with them, but I want to get a medium next. That's on my list of when my next surge of liquidity comes in. I can
perfect.
Top myself up with or I might go cherry picking on secondary for one of the mammals that I really liked, because there was so much of the art that was very cool. I mean, this nicely segues us onto the NFT itself and how it works. So as you can see, for the people watching, you kind of, for each NFT you get 4 features. So emergent, canopy, understory, and floor, which are kind of the 4 levels in the rainforest.
Yep. Basically it represents the different layers of the Amazon. So let's talk about the cards. So first, it's a 2-sided card, right? Mm-hmm. And in the front of the card there are a couple of different elements. So obviously there's the art, which I'll jump into here in a little bit, because I think I could talk about the art all day because I'm just mesmerized by it. Like I mentioned, I would love to get a tattoo of one of my cards. But so it's a 2-sided card, and so in the front you have the art, and it also has the parcel number, right? Like the traditional NFT number. but also GPS coordinates. So one
Yes.
of the things that I personally think is the coolest thing about this project is just how it's tied to real world land, right? So
Hmm.
you don't actually own the land as an NFT card holder, but you are sort of like you are its guardian, right?
Yeah.
We call our NFT holders guardians, and it is yours to protect. And then still on the front of the card, then there's the rarity, right? So it'll, depending on how rare it is, you can get silver, gold, and then even a diamond. I have not been lucky enough to
I
get a
want a
gold
diamond.
or a diamond, but I'm rocking the silver, so I felt pretty
Yeah,
good
yeah.
about that one. And then on the back of the card, then it lists the features. So it has the 4 features that we just talked about, right? The emerging canopy, understory, and floor. And it has the flora and fauna which fall within that specific layer. So like
Hmm.
a scorpion, for example, would be on the floor because they don't live on top of,
Yeah, sure.
up in the air beyond the canopy. So, so it's all relative to where they live. And that for this particular drop, there are 92 features.
Yeah.
And of those, I believe there are 32 that are flora and then 60 that are fauna.
Yeah.
And they represent 92 real world, like documented features in the Genesis drop itself. So
Okay,
we're still in the Genesis drop, right? And
yeah.
so the focus here is, the features are specific to that piece of land. As we grow,
Hmm.
the features will reflect what is applicable to each particular drop.
Yeah.
So it's because there is such an educational component to the NFT, it's
Hmm.
important to learn about these different features and what are we actually saving, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that piece is particularly important. So the rarity, it's, like I was talking about, the features that you get dictate the rarity.
Yeah.
So there are some that are more rare than others, and then when you combine the 4, is what dictates what. And this is all randomly generated, but that's what influences the rarity for the actual card itself. And then based on the rarity, depends on how many Nia tokens you get as
Okay.
sort of rewards.
Nice.
So the rarer it is, the higher the Neo rewards. So it's definitely in our best interest to get those, the diamond fancy pants,
Yeah.
legendary drawings out there, or legendary ones out there.
Yeah.
But everybody gets to participate. So even with your, super common cards,
Hey.
at the lowest, no, not you, I meant like, because I have so many of them, I meant like you,
Yeah.
the general public. Even with the low, the common cards, you still get to participate and you still get Nia tokens. But
Nice.
so yeah, that's a
I
little bit
love it. I love
about
it. I love it that even like the rarity of the NFT has there's so many facets to it. Just we could probably talk about just the card itself for a 45-minute podcast and how the rarity
absolutely
works and how that sort of
absolutely.
feeds into all the other aspects of the project. So no, that is super cool. So one thing you did touch on there, and I think we'll jump to it, is the kind of the game mechanics and the Nia token and how that kind of comes together. So I'm understanding that this isn't out yet. This is something that's in development and will be kind of coming out in the near future, which is
Yep.
DeFi and the game mechanics where you're able to stake your NFT either into conservation or exploration mode. Do you want to talk us through what those kind of 2 different modes mean and what we would get through that?
There are 2 modes.
Yeah.
There is the conservation mode and there is the exploring mode. So the conservation mode is basically when you lock up your NFT, so you don't sell it or you don't transfer it, and you just basically let it sit.
Yeah.
So what you are showing to the world is that you're supporting the conservation, and you are a guardian, right? Like you now have this NFT representative of this land, and you are supporting the conservation of it, right? What's cool about it is that you get rewards. So that will come in the form of the Nia token, which is the native utility token for Nemus. And You mentioned this, but it is coming. It's just not quite we're not quite there yet, but it's on its way. And then the second one is the exploration mode. So basically, you use the game mechanics to explore, and you learn about the different features, and you go on these, sort of like adventures to gather features, and so that you are learning about the real world elements, and then you can build your
collection.
Yes, that's the word. You can build your collection and then earn Nia tokens that way. So
Okay, cool.
so two different ways of really handling the NFT and participating going forward.
Nice. It's very cool. And I think just the way that you guys have executed on the other aspects of the project, like the website, like token itself, the mint. I'm very much looking forward to these game mechanics coming in and seeing them in practice, and the kind of utility that comes from the Nia token itself. So reading in your white paper, there's some really cool things about the Nia token that you've hopefully got on the roadmap. One of the things I read that really got me excited was that you were hoping to be able to offer Guardians things like a streaming camera that they can put in their parcel of land, and they can actually actively monitor their own area within the Amazon that they're the guardian for, and it's something that you can potentially
Absolutely.
purchase with the Nia token as well. I just thought that was so cool to be able to actually have a little look, and see the little
Yeah, it's
parcel of land that you own.
so cool, right? Like, let me just check in on my parcel today.
Yeah,
Any
exactly. Yeah,
jaguars? Any cool birds? Anything going on? And it goes beyond that, right? Like, there is the aspect of having the ability to see what's happening there. But
hmm
imagine a world where we have a lot of these cameras out there, and you can real time tell if someone's actually coming into your property and
yeah.
or coming into the property and taking down
Hey, that guy's
forests, or
nicking
if
my Brazil nuts.
yeah, well, or you know what I'm saying, or like or if there's a fire,
Yeah,
and things like that. Like, the Amazon is so large that it's very difficult for police force like the forestry police to actually maintain everything,
yeah.
because it's hard to access, and they frankly sometimes just don't know because there's no way of monitoring it. So imagine where a world where you have your NFT, you have this parcel of land, and you are truly guarding it. Like, I
Yeah,
see that this tree has been taken down and it should not have been taken down.
yeah.
I just think it's so cool.
That's
Um,
It's just like
I
next
think it'll
level
be awesome.
engagement for this kind of thing. And I remember that there's so many like charities and conservation projects out there which would be like, sponsor a donkey. And they send you this like generic picture of a donkey every month. This is your donkey. It's donkey 1274, and here's another picture of him. And it's not really the donkey that your money's
Right,
gone to. And you don't know where the money that you
right.
spent is really going. And they're kind of sending you these generic pictures. With this, there's just this whole next level of engagement and participation that you
Yeah,
actually, and I love it that you called holders guardians, because it's just, yeah, it's the exact right word to kind of describe it, because you are
yeah.
actively participating in being the guardian and the protector for your parcel of land. So yeah, I thought that was very, very cool.
In a lot of ways, the the donkey story that you just told is a big inspiration. Not the donkey itself, but the traditional donation
Yeah.
system was an inspiration for changing this. Like,
hmm
it's so hats off to them to start, because I think what they do, these NGOs and organizations that are working on protecting the planet, it's hard work, and so hats off to them for working at it. But that is one of the difficulties for the lame person like you and me. Like, here's $20 a month. I don't have a clue where that $20 goes, right?
Yeah.
Apart from, obviously, this donkey is the one that I'm supposedly supporting.
Yeah.
This is very different because you get to participate. I'm sure we'll touch on the DAO here in a little bit. That's still forthcoming, but you get to, not only do you get to see where the money goes, because of the blockchain and things to that effect, but you also get to participate in what happens with the money.
Yeah.
So, it empowers people to feel like they're making a difference, and they are. So, the guardian thing is the guardian terminology is because it's true. You are making an impact, and the reality is we only got one planet, right? So, we got to we got to work on it now. So let me share some statistics with you that I think is actually really fascinating. So,
Okay, cool.
So the Amazon produces 6% of the oxygen in the world.
Wow. Okay.
Which I thought was fascinating. And even though 6% sounds low,
That's massive.
if you think about it, yeah. But so here's the deal. 17% of the Amazon is already gone.
17.
17. It's been cut back already 17%. And scientists are estimating that if we reach 20 to 25%, we will be at a point of no return. Because what happens is the Amazon is self-sustaining, right? It's so massive, and it's so hot and humid. It creates its own rain, and so as a result, it generates itself. And what scientists are thinking is that when we reach that point, that 20 to 25%, the Amazon will no longer be able to do that.
Oh, wow.
Now, what's trippy about it is that they think that this can occur before 2030. So, fun fact. Okay. That's not our kids. That's us.
Yeah.
So that's really, that's 8 years from now, in the next 8 years.
They can't say they haven't been warning us about it. Like, literally my entire life, they've been telling me about this. And they're like,
I know.
And now it's like, no, actually, we're getting to a tipping point in so many different areas, environments. Thank God for Nemus.
Yeah, that's right. We could talk, talk climate change all day long, and I'm not going to get into, those who do or those who don't believe, because I think everybody's sort of entitled to your opinion. But I think one of the things that is, that we cannot argue is that the Amazon is shrinking.
Yeah.
And so, whether or not you believe in climate change, that's your thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you can argue that the Amazon is shrinking. And I think that is what is so motivating and game changing about Nemus, is trying to fix this problem with, a worldwide community, because we need it. We need the world to be there and fight with us. And support. I think that's the only way we make it work.
Carbon sink in the world, isn't it? The Amazon rainforest. So it's very, very much needed. So no, it's great that you guys are doing what you're doing, and hopefully giving the opportunity for a lot of people to be able to invest in the project, get involved, and actually make a difference. And I think about the amount of ETH that people are spending on rug pull projects. I was looking at a tweet today. It was by an account which is focusing on rug pull projects, and they had listed like how many ape projects had turned out to be rugs and how much money in ETH had been spent on them. I just think that's crazy. If people just put even like a small percentage of their bags into a project, a good cause project like this, we wouldn't even have a problem right now. So I'm really hoping that the NFT community is going to start backing some of these good cause projects and really drive forwards crypto for good and NFTs for good, because I think really that should be the next meta in NFTs. It shouldn't be 3D projects or derivatives or another meme project, another one of the Pixelmon characters that's another 20 million's been spent on. That can make such a huge difference in such an important project like that. So, I was talking to a bit of a name drop here. I was talking to Zeneca last night. Was it last night or the night before last? We did a recording with Zeneca, and he's a big fan of the Nemus project as well. And we talked probably
awesome.
At length about Nemus and how excited we were for it, and how we can both of us can foresee this big snowball moment where everyone starts jumping on and getting involved in it, because it's just so cool what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And one of the big parts of that was obviously the level of engagement that you get to have in these kind of charitable organizations. As we kind of touched on a moment ago, one of the issues I've always had, I'm a massive skeptic, like, of everything, and
Hmm.
I struggle times donating to sort of normal web, let's call them Web 2 kind of charities, because I
Sure.
just there's so many bad actors in every industry, and I hear so many bad stories about where the money is actually going and how it's kind of a lot of the time, especially government raises, just kind of given to these foreign governments, and it's never followed up on how this money is really being spent. And what I've always loved and why I got into crypto is it's trustless. You can track it. It's really cuts through a lot of corruption, which is one of the main
Yeah.
things I got excited about cryptocurrency. And what I
Hmm.
love about this is that a lot of your decision making on the kind of sustainable practices and the building of the circular economies and what you're doing with the money that is raised through the mint will be going eventually to a DAO system.
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about that and what kind of plans you have for the DAO?
One of the main goals is to make sure that the votes are weighed on merits and not just tokens. Like
Yeah,
we want people to participate, and we want true guardians. And I think that that will be reflected in how the voting actually goes down.
nice.
But one of the things, and it's still a ways out. We're still working on exactly how to work things out. And I am wish I could phone a friend, get Mike on the call, and be like, "Hey, Mike, can you can you share with us about the DAO?" But one thing that I'm very excited about that's actually coming here in the very near future is we're actually getting ready to set up a snapshot in the discourse
Oh, nice.
to get some of the smaller projects to get voted on. Like people need construction equipment for bathrooms, or RTVs, which are the four wheelers,
Yeah,
to
nice.
be able to move the Amazon or the Brazil nuts,
Yeah,
and or an engine for a boat so that they can move around. Like so, those little sort of like smaller dollar projects, it's
yeah,
coming
yeah,
because the reality is we're there. We have, we've sat down, we've had a lot of conversations, and folks are sort of like this, folks on the ground, the community, is sort of like this is what would help us. So
yeah,
we want to bring that in, so that we can start giving people the feel of this is what it's going to look like just on a much larger scale.
yeah.
And
Cool.
what's really cool about how the DAO is going to shake out is that we're voting in conjunction with the community on the ground.
Yeah,
So it's not this like, oh, you will do this,
yeah,
type
yeah.
of. We're not imposing this. We're working on it together, and finding the best way to move forward as a gaggle of guardians,
Gaggle of Guardians. I
yeah,
love it.
as a unit, as one team, one fight to fix the problem.
Yeah, I love it. I'm actually a massive fan of a meritocracy. Like, it's like something that I feel that should be brought into the normal voting system here. I'm probably going to cut this
Yeah.
from the actual podcast,
Okay,
but
that's
like
fine.
for stuff like we had Brexit like a few years ago,
Yeah.
and like people are just like nobody knows what they're voting for. All they're voting for is headlines that they've read or
Yeah.
things that they've seen on Facebook. And if you ask them like any questions about what they're voting for, they've got no idea. People voting for, I hate party politics. They go, "Oh, I'm voting Labour because this person, I like the look of this guy." It's like that's not a reason to vote for something. That's just like what a team's put together to make them look like.
Yeah.
So I've always been a big fan of that. Almost in a when people vote for things, they should have like it should always have a little questionnaire next to it, like 3 questions or 5 questions. They've got to answer the questions about the policies that kind of thing you're voting for, and that
Yeah.
weights your vote depending on how many you get right. So if you don't know what you're
Yeah.
voting for, your vote still counts, but it's got a lot less weight than someone who's got
Sure.
in shown that they know what they're voting for, and therefore it's actually based on rational, logical thought process rather than which headlines you've read. So yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
big
That would
fan
be
of a
fantastic.
meritocracy. So I'm glad you guys are going that way because it does make a difference, and it's not just about who's got so much more money than the other person,
No.
and
Yeah.
therefore more
Absolutely.
tokens and things like that.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about the conservation mode, and because there's the exploration and the conservation mode, right, for the
Yeah,
NFT, and the conservation mode of just letting it, locking it up and letting it sit and showing support. Like that in and of itself is a support for the project, right? And it
Yeah.
makes you a guardian because you're not here to buy and sell. You're here to participate and help with the cause, and those are the people that we are looking for. Obviously, there are rewards and things to that effect, but certainly we're building a network or a community of people that are trying to fix a problem that to date no one has resolved.
Yeah, it's so cool, and the way the DAO's going to work is just a massive benefit, I think, to the project at large. One thing we haven't really talked about much, which was one thing that really blew me away when I first came and looked at the project in more detail, was the art. The art is just like phenomenal. Can you tell me a bit about the artist Ben and how that's come together?
So the art it's just phenomenal. As we're going through the mint process and people are getting their NFTs, we're getting to see more and more cards that are coming out, because there's a total of 92 features, and I to be quite frank, I don't know if we've already seen all 92. I think we're still working through that list, but some of them are so cool. And then so basically the way that it works is, so Ben Kwok, who is just, I mean, phenomenal. The artwork that he did and does is just fantastic. So he's our featured artist, and he does the legendary drawings, so the legendary art. So there are 8 of those, and they are so intricate, and there, I think we were talking to him at one point, and he was saying, some crazy amount of hours, like 80 to 100 hours or something like that, on just one drawing or something to that effect, because they're so detailed and they're so carefully drawn. And they're just absolutely fantastic. So those are the 8 legendary features. And then what we did is we partnered with Concept Art House, who I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they've dabbled in the video game world for years, and they've worked with Sega and there are a couple of other companies I'm blanking on the name, but so they've worked on some pretty major video games out there, and they came in to do the rest of the features in the spirit of Ben's art. So what we have is like this just fantastic mesh of these legendary drawings, and then the designs of the other elements that are in the spirit of Ben's art. And it's just so cool. Seeing some of these different ones, like especially Ben's art, it just has so much depth. It's like it's nothing I've ever seen, especially in the not only is it fantastic art in and of itself, but I quite frankly don't have the exposure to this type of art in the NFT world, so I think it's just so cool. The art for the project.
Absolutely. It works so well on the cards. Even the talk about how clean the project is in general. The NFT card itself, with the kind of 3D parallax effect, with the background moving different to the foreground and things like that. It just looks so cool. I was so excited to mint my one originally on the Genesis drop, which we should talk about actually. So the Nemus Genesis drop is the first part of the project. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Genesis drop, how that's gone, what the kind of plans are for that, and what kind of activities you think will be sort of coming off the back in terms of protecting and conserving the rainforest?
So this is my world within Nemus. I've been to the Genesis drop a few times. We were actually talking a few minutes ago about having the cameras in the Genesis, within each one of the NFTs. One of the things that I did this last trip is we actually took around a GPS coordinate into the forest, so we could figure out, take pictures of, this is what your forest looks like, NFT owner, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's forthcoming. Cool. But so I dabble in the physical world, if you will, more so than Web3. So we could literally do an entire episode just on what we're going to do on the ground. But I think the most important thing that I want to make sure gets relayed is that the rainforest is disappearing, and there is deforestation that's occurring, and it's not. While there are sort of like your bad actors out there, it's not, not
Yeah.
everybody that cuts down a forest is a bad person. Oftentimes, it's their only
Hmm.
means of survival. So what we're trying to
Yeah.
do, and starting with the Genesis drop, is we're trying to create this circular economy. So what does that mean? So right now, we've got folks who are clear cutting the forest so that they can have pasture land, right? And that is their means of survival. But there are so many different sustainable activities within the forest itself that would actually provide for a much better, living wages than
Hmm.
the pasture land with the cattle would. But the folks on the ground don't have the infrastructure and support to do this. So, like, for example, with
Yeah.
the Brazil nuts, there are the Brazil nuts basically come in a coconut, and or I don't know, it's called an ouriço, I think, in Portuguese, but I don't know what it's called in English. I call it a coconut, even though it's not. And then the nuts are inside, and they drop. So the nuts drop
Yeah.
from the tree to the ground, and that's how they get harvested, right? You don't actually have to go up the tree.
Yeah.
You just collect them from the ground. So it
Nice.
takes quite the effort to break them up, to get the nuts out. And then they've got to trek
Yeah.
through the forest carrying the Brazil nuts. So what
Hmm.
happens? Not only are they not able to be efficient because they don't have four-wheelers or any other type of equipment. We're talking guys with barrels hanging on their backs to move back and forth.
Yeah,
But
sure.
then there's so many intermediaries that they sell it at, pennies on the
Hmm.
dollar because that's what they will pay. And then it's got to go through 15 intermediaries, and then you and I pay an exorbitant amount of them, in our respective
Yeah,
homes.
nuts are
Very
expensive,
expensive.
right?
And so what we're trying to do with creating the circular economy is create a support system and an infrastructure for folks on the ground to be able to efficiently perform sustainable activities. So that,
Yeah.
they can bring more Brazil nuts, and we can cut out the intermediaries. And so by default, bring that money back into the community and help them improve their quality of life, which they are looking for. So it's
Yeah.
a self-sustaining project, once we get it going. And basically there is a lot of people out there there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh, we should just, protect the forest and not do anything with it. Well, there's 20 million people that live in the Amazon. They have to have a means of survival somehow.
Yeah.
And this is how we fix it. We help them work on these sustainable efforts so that they don't have to cut the forest. And I'll tell you, Jimmy, the coolest thing for me is that it's working. In its very
Yeah.
basic inception, it's working. We were meeting when we were in Pauini, which is like the nearby town, or city.
Yeah.
So Pauini is one of the poorest municipalities in Brazil, just to give you an idea
Hmm.
of what the town is. But the people are fantastic, and I just love it there. It feels like almost like a second home at this point. But
Nice.
when we were there a couple of weeks ago, we were talking to people, and one of the guys that we're looking to partner with, who is a squatter, is he actually came and he talked to us, and he was like, I was considering cutting down, X amount of forest, so that I could have a couple of extra heads of cattle. And in that conversation, we were able to be like, don't do that. Let's work on, perhaps getting you an ATV so we can redirect how your source of income so that you can move things in and out of the forest. And he was like, okay, let's do that. Sort of like excited to, like, not have to cut
Yeah,
down the
nice.
forest, because these folks, and I'm making a generalization to, sort of like to the good people versus like your bad actors, but they don't want to cut down the forest. They know, how
Yeah.
precious it is, and it's part of their culture and it's part of their life, and they don't want to lose it. But at the end of the day, it's survival. So,
Hmm.
so anyways, it's very interesting to see the real world implications and more and more we'll be sharing as we can. Like we just started a boots on the ground channel on our Discord, which is
Nice.
basically, the purpose of it is to share what it looks like in the real world. So we've got a couple of videos up there of, what the boats look like, and what the river looks like when you're flowing through, and we'll be putting pictures of
Yeah.
people and introducing the
Nice.
characters. And I think having that real world connection will really solidify the project for people, because it's, once you realize that it's not just a generic donkey in your that you're
Yeah,
getting once a
yeah.
month, I think it changes the game. So with
Yeah.
both with the exposure of what we're seeing and what we're doing down there, and then this new sort of like pre-DAO system that we're bringing online to vote on some of these little projects, I
Mhm.
think it's really going to hit home for a lot of people, and help solidify what we're doing.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, as I said a few times, there's so many aspects to this thing. There's so much detail. We could literally record for about
We
3 4
absolutely could.
hours and not even kind of get into all the complexities of it. So we're really just skimming the surface here. So I have to say, anyone who's got this far in the episode, still listening, still watching, definitely go check out the Discord, the website. There's a lot more information. You can really deep dive into these details. Just a couple of things, just in sort of summary and things that I was thinking about when
Yeah.
learning about the project. Have you found the almost like the contradiction between the normies viewpoint of NFTs on mainnet ETH being bad for the environment, and you guys running a project which is about
Yeah.
conserving and the environment and against climate change? How is that butted up against
Yeah,
each other?
so we get a lot of questions about this, and we actually put out an article a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, on our Medium platform, which is like our blog that we're using,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that actually tackles this head on, and certainly it says it in a much more eloquent fashion. But there are a couple things that I will say, and so I direct people to, or I recommend people check it out, because I think it's an important piece, and it really speaks to the heart of the matter. But so here's a couple things that I think is my takeaway, sort of like high level response on this. So there was an incredible amount of care and consideration that went into making the decision of
Hmm.
using Ethereum. The reality is that Ethereum is battle tested, right? It's the largest and most well
Yeah.
developed chain out there, and it's tried and true. And then the last thing is that there are a host of projects that tax the system significantly, right? Like you get your FOMO
Hmm.
kicks in, and people are just going bonkers, trying to buy
Yeah.
things. And with our project, we've been, like I said, there's been a lot of care and consideration that has gone into it. But like, even in the way that we are going about minting is to decrease some of the significant energy consumptions. Like we're not interested in participating in that piece. But I
Yeah.
understand everybody's concern, but the reality is, if you're going to work on a project,
Yeah.
why not work on a project to offset some of the negatives of Ethereum?
And it's also a dying argument, isn't it? We've
Totally.
got the merge coming. We're moving to proof of stake. It's
Yeah.
going to be completely environmentally friendly from
Yeah.
that point on. Then we should see a massive uptake. And all those people that might have said, oh, NFTs are bad for the environment, I'm not getting involved. That argument's about to die. So we all look forward to that.
Yeah.
Then they've got no excuse of jumping in and and partnering with Nemus and doing some good in the world.
Yeah. True story.
And also, congratulations on some of the massive partnerships that you guys have already made within the NFT space. You were featured front page of
Hmm.
Rarible. You got a partnership with them. Zeneca's a huge fan, so you got a great partnership with the Zen Academy, and of course the Right Click Save podcast.
Obviously.
We've been a massive fan since we met you,
Yeah.
standing in line, you and Mike, and chatting about our different projects and things we've got
Yeah.
on. So that's been great. Have you found that the general response from people like Zeneca and Rarible has been really friendly, and they've been very keen to partner?
Absolutely. Everybody's been fantastic. And definitely I want to, give a little shout out to Woody's and Meta Angels, who are
Yeah.
also partners of ours. They have been crucial in spreading the word. They have been welcoming of us as a new project in the space, and the communities that these different groups have been built is invaluable. And it's just been absolutely fantastic to watch the communities come together. Especially in the Discord, we're like, "Hey, I'm here from Zen," or "Hey, I'm an angel," and it's just so cool. Definitely, that is in the Web3 world. The community is my favorite part. So the partners have been, quintessential in bringing in new folks into our community, and it's just been awesome.
Amazing. As I said, I'm a huge fan of the project. I think that's come across throughout the interview. I hope that people listening have really taken on board the some of the aspects of this project and how they can contribute for the better of all of us, really. So yeah, I really encourage people to go check out the website. We'll put a load of links in the descriptions. Go jump into the Discord, have a chat. It's probably one of the most approachable Discords I've experienced in terms of how friendly the community is in there and everyone's sort of coming together. And it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And to all the listeners out there, don't forget to like and subscribe. We love Jimmy and want to show support. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks very much.